Very good morning. I welcome you all to the brand new Cowocoli, the Startup Nation webinar Summit Series. I'm Anurag Malu. I'm based in Jaipur in Rajasthan, right now at home. I bring a lot of years of experience in building inclusive startup communities and entrepreneurship ecosystems in the emerging markets of Asia. Previously, I have worked with Techstars as regional manager for APAC for 6 years. And currently, I'm working with SeedStars, which is a global investment platform that is headquartered in Switzerland with a mission to impact people's lives in emerging markets through technology and entrepreneurship. Let me actually share my screen with you just to give you a quick overview of what we do. If you can see my screen, I think, let's see if you can see the screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see you. Yeah, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So currently I work with Stars, as I told you. It's a global investment platform that is helping entrepreneurs in emerging markets through technology and entrepreneurship. And we connect stakeholders within ecosystems, helping corporations, foundations, and governments building on their innovation agendas and build companies from scratch, high growth companies, invest in them in around 80 plus emerging markets through a range of initiatives that may include scouting, company building, running co-working hubs, angel investor trainings, our own funds, incubation, acceleration, and various growth programs. With the current outbreak of COVID-19, this pandemic, today's session is all about that, how it has sent the global economy into doldrums, into really figuring out what's happening. And startups are no exception when it comes to getting affected by it. And this phase of business, building a business, requires new set of ideas, learning from our own peers, and just overall agility in moving fast in decision making. And most importantly, understanding the data that is currently we can capture to make those decisions and managing our own smooth cash flows as businesses. So as an organization, there are different ways. We are also trying to figure out how we can support entrepreneurs. So as I mentioned, various initiatives which like SeedStars run is at startup stages, investment stages, and then providing necessary support and network to the entrepreneurs. And why we do what we do is we believe that 90% of our global population lies in emerging markets. And that's where they need support with the big challenges that are in front of us, in front of these markets. So a lot of focus goes on building solutions towards the global sustainable development goals created by United Nations. But with the help of leveraging technology, because technology is what is impacting lives at an unprecedented speed, something that we all can't deny when we are building these tech startups. And our investment thesis is all about like, how do we help build high growth companies that can have a significant impact in the ecosystem by creating jobs at a large level, so that we are able to support the economic growth of a country too. So we have been doing this and impacting lives across emerging markets in Asia, Africa, Latam, Europe, MENA, and CE. And with that, I think I'll just quickly wrap up my introduction and what SeedStars does. And so if you have any questions, you can obviously get in touch with me, reach out to me at anurag@seedstars.com. Currently, as I mentioned, like one thing we're trying to do is supporting our startups through the resilience program, which we have in-house kind of built. It came out as the current rise of COVID-19. And this program is running currently with our own portfolio of startups. How can we help them become more resilient, them to survive and to explore new opportunities in these turbulent times of crisis, so that they can better respond and succeed? And this is a time when like startups globally need the support from the ecosystem the most. So happy to discuss and like further if you're interested in learning more about this, what we've been doing through the wartime network of mentors and data-driven methodologies, using all of that and supporting startups moving out of this crisis. But anyways, what I'm most excited about today is not all of this. I'm excited to be moderating our fireside panel, this chat in partnership with Cowocoli, and more excited to welcome Mahavirji, as you can see him on the screen, as the first keynote speaker for this to talk about business and investments after the COVID-19 war is over. This whole like beyond COVID-19 pandemic, how do we see businesses and startups thrive? So Mahavirji is the chairman of TIE Global and current chairman of TIE Global and the founder of Rajasthan Indian Investment Network. I remember meeting Mahavirji back in 2015 for the first time when we organized the startup weekend in Jaipur at Startup Oasis, and he graciously joined as a jury member back then. I hope you remember too, Mahavirji, but I think I would love to quickly ask you to share anything, your quickly introduction, so that I can further take a deep dive into the questions I have for you.
So nothing much. I mean, I think I'm good with your introduction. I mean, I'm basically an angel investor and a mentor to early stage, idea stage companies, and working with startups and entrepreneurs at the bottom of the pyramid. Currently leading TIE, but always been active in this domain for the last 7 years. I'd be happy to take on any questions or suggestions or way forward from you. And let's dig into the questions, and let's make it more educative and informative rather than about us.
Yeah, absolutely. So perfect. Let me just, I think, start with the first question. So Mahavirji, as you mentioned, you've been an entrepreneur for many, many years and an investor now actively in the ecosystem. What do you think how COVID-19 has personally affected your life? And I'm curious to know about, this whole new language which is going on right now about the old normal and the new normal you see after the COVID-19 outbreak passes from your personal perspective.
So the impact has been immense. It's not just me individually, but across the society, across the country and continents. I think travel has reduced. We have started to look at ourselves more inward than outward. I think we are reinventing. Everyone is putting their hats, no matter what business one is. I think it's become a new normal for the time, because this thing is not going away in the next month or 15 days. This will continue to harass us, at least travel, at least in-person businesses, at least in-person exhibitions. So I think we are poised to change. Many businesses will cease to exist. Many new businesses will come up. I think it's a good thing. It's a churning that was required. And I think we have to reinvent and rework on ourselves. And that's what I am doing. And that's what I have adapted to be doing and working on it.
Mm-hmm. What does reinvention here means to you? And what does it mean for a business actually?
So reinvention actually means a lot of things. So what you see today is what you have to be prepared for. So if there's no travel, if there's multiple things that are happening that you have to work from home, your businesses should be ready for this worst case situation. I'm sure things will improve. They are improving, but you should be prepared for this situation also. You should be able to deliver. Your supply should not be hampered. Your product or service should be delivered. So I think that's the change that is required. Also, you have to cut down on a lot of flab by meaning thereby that not just employees or overheads, but also businesses that are not productive, businesses that are not profitable, businesses that are not future ready. So things have to change within industries. You have to cut down on multiple processes that you were doing. Products have to be ready for this new generation that's going to come out of this. I mean, look at the impact that this is having on children from going to school right now. I mean, they are your consumers for tomorrow. So you have to be ready for what they are thinking, what they want, what would they be ready for, not what the past wanted or what the present wanted. That's what things are changing, from jewelry to cars to services, to education, to conversation, everything has changed. And you have to be ready for that because this generation is fast adapting and that is your future market.
Mhm. No, the really, really great insights. As you mentioned, highlighted some of these challenges, and you have seen several more challenges in your life so far and difficulties in the business and overall life. What advice would you give entrepreneurs who are building current businesses once the lockdown gets partially lifted? As the country has been in lockdown for almost 4 weeks now, another 2 weeks to go, and we don't know if it's going to extend. And so, how do these entrepreneurs continue to build as the lockdown partially gets lifted? So, any practical advice on it would be very, very helpful for people here.
I think first things first. I think the biggest challenge that all of us have is cash flow. I think we should look towards our customers, our buyers, see if they are ready, provide them with free or cheaper product or service at this point, even if you have to incur a loss. Relationships and them surviving is as important as you are. So I think you should work on providing whatever you are selling to your customers better. You should also provide it for lesser money, and you should also adapt based upon areas, based upon products, based upon geographies, because every one size will not fit all. And I think it's very important that you, as soon as this is lifted and you have a grasp of your business, I think you should quickly adapt to what you have, what you need to do, and start moving in that direction with a humane mindset. Because otherwise, if you look at a business point of view, it will not work. You've already incurred losses, everyone's incurred losses, but you should have to curtail and contain, and also try and fulfill your commitments, and try and see if you can get supplies. That's the first thing that I would do. Also, I would now, as I said, in these 40 days, if you have introspected enough, what you need, what you don't need, whether it's manpower, whether it's a product or service that you are working on, whether it's more R&D, whether it's supply chain, which should have been better, whether it's your buyers who should have been varied, whatever works for your business, whatever you've thought of, I think you should now focus on delivering that. I wouldn't, in India at least, I wouldn't depend on the government as much. I think the government is handicapped with not having too many funds. I think it's going to be a struggle for the next 6 months. Whatever comes your way from the government or by aids or by things being waived off, take them, but don't depend on them. Try to survive on your own. Don't think of this as just 40 days or partial lockdown, another month or two. Think of this as the next 1 year and try and work around it, because that is going to be the new normal.
Mhm. No, thank you for highlighting that. I think you also mentioned 2 points here, one around the humane side and one around the conversation side. I think I'm particularly interested in learning more. What does it mean? Like, how does this whole conversation, the new conversation changes? What does the human angle comes into it? Is it more about like being more compassionate, or being more empathetic, or something else you were thinking about when you brought
I
up
don't
this?
want I don't want emotions to rule business. What I'm meaning is being pragmatic, being more
Mhm.
practical. See what works. You can't trust yourself or your service or your business to that person, someone that you are, or you can't trust your suppliers to give you something that they don't want to give or they can't give. So you have to quickly adapt to the new situation. Let's just take example of jewelry. I think the jewelry industry will drastically change. I mean, you will have to see gold is skyrocketing. People don't have income. People will not buy jewelry as much as they did. So you have to quickly adapt to cheaper, lighter, new designs online. You have to make the people who craftsmen work and adapt to a new style. Maybe get a little more mechanized. Reduce your retail space and rental if you can. Reduce your marketing budget from offline to more online. Cater to the future, which is more online. Educate your consumers about jewelry. So you'll have to do multiple things. It jewelry in the luxury industry will cease to exist or will not be the same. And that is a simple thing that you have to do. So if I was a jeweler with retail outlets, I would quickly adapt to reduce my retail space. I would quickly reduce on pricing. I would quickly reduce on overheads. I would go online. I would make lighter, cheaper, better stuff. and make it more cost effective. Not don't stay away from gold. Don't stop doing platinum or silver. Do what you're doing, but make it more affordable, more lighter, better. Make more technology into it, and that's what I would do.
Absolutely, great points and very, very practical. I think so. In light of all of this, like right now going on that has happened, as from an investor perspective, what is the biggest challenge do you see investors are going to face in these times, and how have your investments got affected due to COVID, and how do you think it can be overcome?
I think the questions that
Yeah.
you've just asked. One was what is as an investor, what is so what was happening in the last 1 year? We as investors were starting to look at bottom lines. Just the numbers or aggregation or growth was not important. Profitability, unit economics, cash flow, being bootstrapped despite being funded, being reasonable in what you did, approaching the markets with clarity were all important. They will now become far more important. I think the fact that whether you are ready, whether your startup is okay to survive a situation like that, is it foolproof if the world gets locked down? Is it something that is addressing a larger market share, which is the online market share? Is it also something that that's not going to be affected if taxes were changed or priorities were changed? So all these things will become far more important. Profitability will be very, very important. And I think growth with caution is going to be the mantra. Going haywire on hiring people and growing from one city to the other might not be the right thing to do for the 1 year. And we would not be funding that side of it. So that's something that will become more important and more serious. The top line, the bottom line will take over the top line, while both are important, but bottom line will be equally important. On the other side of it, what was the second part of your question? Oh, my startups that
Yours,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
your investments.
My investments are, obviously all startups are struggling. Everyone needs money. With the caveat of the government wanting to pay salaries, and with the software and the tech sector having high and huge salary, almost 60-70% of their operating cost is salaries. It's not easy. It's tough. I don't think this will last. I think salaries will not be able to be paid in full this month. I think there will be cut downs. Some will defer it. Some will not be able to pay it. Some will die. It's a very challenging situation. So out of X number of investments, we'll also as investors have to choose that this is the most promising startup, which is future ready. Maybe they need to be given an interim, a bridge loan or a small funding now, and not let them die. And there are businesses that have not adapted or we don't see them future ready, might actually die because we also have limited resources, and angels are also struggling, and you cannot continue to go financing your own company. So things will change. Things will adapt. Our companies are struggling. Some are surviving, some are adapting. We're trying to help them, tell them what to do, what not to do, see what we can cut. ESOPs will become an element if you want to retain your employees. I mean, things have to be as I said, it has to be humane. It has to work for the employees. It has to work for the, your end consumer. It has to work for you as a company. You cannot just say that it's going to be a win-win situation if one or the other dies. It has to work for everyone. Technology, R&D are very critical. They will become more important. We are we don't, so again, if our money is going into R&D, if our money is going into technology to be future ready, better chances of getting reinvested or invested. If the money is going into operations or marketing or other expenses that we think are not required because you got to sustain at this point, money will not come. Money will, whether existing startups or new startups.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I hear you. And I think it is indeed like really tough to overcome these challenges at this point. And we can't even predict what's going to happen. But from an organization perspective, you also represent TIE Global and the whole, like, have an overview of the global investment scenario. How are you ensuring TIE's global and regional activities are aligned with the current situation, and how is the new support system is something that you're working on to help entrepreneurs And what are like Thai's investment plans for 2020, if there are any, and how, what industries are you looking at, keeping this new normal in mind? I think,
See, again, two parts of the question I'll divide. What is TIE as an organization doing right now? So other than, imparting education, and other than imparting learning sessions across the ecosystem online, is something that we're doing, that every organization is doing, and we must do. Knowledge sharing, and platforms, umpteen platforms, where we're doing that every single day. And I think that will continue to happen. The other thing that what organizations like TIE and we've started to look at is, stress management, especially the younger lot. The our members who are struggling, who were looking towards us for investments or mentoring or help or guidance, they're going through different kinds of stresses, and we need to work on all that. So I think the mental health is something important. I think conversations, communications, talking about positive stuff is very, very critical. And that's something that we've been doing across various chapters. And I think we need to continue to do more of that. I mean, no matter, there are multiple questions popping up, but all I can say is that if you are a true entrepreneur, if you are a true innovation person, if you are hardworking, no matter what domain you are, whether that domain exists or does not exist, you will exist, because you have to quickly adapt to what the new thing is. You will come up with something new, and you will come around in the next 6 months. It's just a phase. Even if your company is dying, if your 2 years of hard work is not going to survive, don't worry, because things will change, and there will be a new medium, a new format, a new platform, a new service, a new product that I'm sure you can create. And that's what you should believe in. If you as a team has to survive, not the business as such, even if you are not able to survive this pandemic. That's the one thing that TIE is doing, we individually are doing, and
amazing.
I think we have to continue to do that. What was the second part of your question?
My second part, what are TIE's investment plans for 2020? And
TIE's investment plans, again, TIE is an organization that has to bridge the gap at the bottom of the pyramid. No one is funding idea stage and early stage companies. TIE will continue to do that. Idea and early stage companies, whether they are now and paused for the moment and planning on relaunching 6 months from now, or new ideas, that market will never change. That domain will always need money. We are going to continue to write small checks to multiple people across the world in India through our angel programs. And that is where our forte is. Idea stage, if you have a unique idea, IP, technology, new thing, idea stage. Otherwise, at early stage, where you have a POC, you have done the local market survey, and that's where we want to stick to, up to 500,000, from 10 lakhs to, that range. I don't think anyone is sufficing or anyone is geared, because we have thousands of members across the world. We have domain experts across all sectors. We have people sitting in each and every city across India, which can handhold and mentor that company from coming from that geography. So I think as an organization, as members, as angels, TIE's focus will continue to be where it is. And that is where we feel our strength is and our future lies.
This is amazing. I think the biggest takeaway for me so far has been the positivity and the hope and the optimism you have expressed, and the whole conversation around, what has been taboo in the past, talking about mental health. And I think recognizing that it is true, and you can also get into depression, and it's okay, but it's very important to come out of this, and creating a supporting and enabling environment that can help us come out of it. Thank you for sharing that. Before I go to the next question, actually, I wanted to let the audience know we are starting with Q&A soon. So post your questions on the chat. And after my next question, we will get to the audience questions. So please keep your questions coming. I think my last question would be for you. So at this moment, we are seeing a lot of socio-economic impact, Mahavir, as a whole, response and to the COVID-19 outbreak, where our economy is very dependent on the labor force and informal sector. how these small businesses like shall come up post-COVID. You have kind of touched this in the past too, in earlier question, but how can we really revive India's labor market and the livelihood sector in a post-COVID world? Like we are still working from home, have this privilege to uh, continue to do business or whatever little we can earn, but there is a big chunk of people who have been badly affected, and how we can help that sector survive.
Oh, so that's a challenge. Physical labor, temporary labor, self-employed people, small shopkeepers, people who migrated miles and miles away from their home to work for us as a single employee in a single employee company. Tough times. I think they're the biggest lot that needs help. I think government should devise a method where these micro units, these self-employed, I think I don't know the percentage, but out of all the self-employed people, single or two people, self-employed people are the highest in India. And I think they drive our economy because that money goes to white goods, that goes to education because they don't want their children, that goes to so much of other things that the future of India depends on. And I think it's very, very critical. Those guys are below the income tax line. They're not BPL, so they can't come under Narega. And there's no way that in India, the challenge is we can get to them. I think the only way you can get to them, and that as early as 6 months to 9 months, if the SME sector gets some support, I hope that that money will trickle down to the micro, to the self-employed, to the individual labor who's working. I personally feel the government should not worry as much as about large corporates, large sectors. Um, we should worry about the smaller sector for now. I think larger sectors with tax breaks, larger sectors with interest, lowering interest, which RBI is doing, loans being available in the next 3 to 6 months will come back and they'll survive. I think this is good enough for them. My fear and my worry is that if the package comes from the finance ministry, it should go to these micro and small businesses who are neither here nor there, who are not on ESIPF, who are not paying income tax, who are cash on a daily basis, buy on cash, sell on cash. Those are the businesses that are struggling right now. Those are the people who are starving right now. I don't want a social unrest, in that sector. And I don't think the government wants that either. So that's why this partial lockdown removal is very, very critical, and especially in the green zone. I think so. That's very good thing. I'm very hopeful that the sooner that this thing gets back to normal in the green and the orange zones, these people will be able to survive. People will move to those cities and start working. I think we're behind 6 months already on the economy, but I think we can catch up soon. And the government might not have to micromanage these people by funding them in what way, one way or the other. So that's the challenge. I'm hoping that things do change.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, thank you. Thank you so much for that. I'll take some questions that has come up from audience, and I think let's try to answer as many as we can. We have a question: what should be the strategy for non-funded startup in last mile delivery to start operations post lockdown?
The non-funded startups, again, any startup, you have to survive first. You have to look at your cash flow. You have to look at your cash flow the next 6 months to a year. I think there's a huge opportunity in the last mile delivery. No one has been able to crack the last mile delivery to precision. I think if you can work on, don't grow your geography, stay where you are, continue to work and operate within your sector, whether it's grocery, medicine, vegetables, or whatever product that you are delivering. I think surviving, servicing, and continuing to operate in that sector for the next 6 months, and also improving your technology. The growth tomorrow will not be based upon the money that you get. The growth tomorrow will not be what you are doing and how you're doing. The growth is going to happen through technology. So invest some bit in technology, improve that bit of it, make the user experience of the receiver of the product deliverer and of the person who is delivering much better, make it more interesting and funny. That's going to make you stand apart. You have to become innovative. You have to create some fun. People are pretty bored with this situation. I mean, I think all last mile delivery people say thank you, delivered, blah blah blah. All these generic messages. Make it something fun. Make it more, interesting, so that people remember you. That's what's the critical thing here, is to survive and be remembered. Because post all of this, it'll be, one eats the other, and that's where it's going to be a challenge.
Yes. The next question is from Amit Kumar Jain. What is your perception on health, hygiene, and waste management sector in India post COVID-19?
I mean, that always is a very important sector. I think health and hygiene and waste management need to grow. I think it's a very, very important sector. It will grow. Again, technology has to play a role. If you're just, I mean, you have to make use of that rag picker. You have to make use of that uneducated person. If you can enroll that person and make that person powerful through technology, I think that will work. I think health hygiene will become all the more important. All the more, people will be listening to you, but make it stress free. Don't push it down. It should be self-adaptive. It should be innovative. It just cannot be what multiple videos that are playing about health and hygiene and what to do and what not to do. Waste management at municipality level, at mohalla level, at country level, there are all different routes to take for that, but it is going to be important.
There's a question from Raj Jani that how about devising some creative means like crowdfunding amongst TIE Elite members for helping SMEs through grants, especially those who are working on meaningful social projects and social sector generating mass jobs for economy?
Yeah, so see, crowdfunding at social entrepreneurship level does not work through organizations. It works at individual level. I think platforms can be used to reach to people, but crowdfunding mechanisms in India are still at a very nascent stage, in my opinion. There's no methodology to decipher which is the right kind of a crowdfunding startup, or which is someone who's going to run away with the money and not be strong enough. So it's a very challenging situation in India as far as crowdfunding goes. Most people end up funding crowdfunded startups as donation rather than as returns. I think someone needs to first get crowdfunding sector organized in India. Some laws have to be put in place. Some organization has to work with people to clarify that, and to work with people, somehow sift through crowdfunding or seeking crowdfunding organizations to be good or bad. That's also very critical.
I think I'll take, there are a lot of questions coming up. I don't think so we can take all the questions. We have a couple of more sessions lined up. I'll still take maybe one or two questions, quick ones. How is the future? What is the future of the local delivery space, and how will the consumer behavior change after the lockdown?
Consumer behavior will, so we've gotten used to deliveries. I think deliveries are going to stay. I think people are going to make use of it. People have had fun doing this. I think no one will jeopardize in the next 6 months to a year going out of the market. I think deliveries will happen. I think it's a good space to be in. Hyperlocal is important. Technology will be critical again, as I continue to say. If you don't use technology, you will not be able to survive.
Yeah, I think Himesh, are we on time? Do we have a chance to ask one or two more questions, or shall we wrap up?
I've just shared my email ID. I think people can reach out to me on my email.
I think we have other questions lined up, and so I think. Okay.
No, thank you, Mahavirji. He has also shared his email ID in the chat with everyone. You can reach out to him at oscarexports@hotmail.com or mahavir@thai.org for any questions you can have, and he can answer. But great, that's really, really great advice, Mahavirji, and all the tips you have shared today. I hope these businesses and everyone and entrepreneurs here on the webinar can really find it useful and could implement in the future. Thank you, Mahavirji. It's been a pleasure hosting you and listening to you. So thank you for agreeing to share your experience and giving this keynote. Thank you, Cowocoli, for organizing this summit, and everyone, those who have been listening. Thank you once again for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you.